Hey guys, all right, so we're going to talk about rational or radical equations using radicals and rational exponents. So we're going to apply our knowledge of exponent rules and simplifying radicals to solve those kinds of equations. So for these, we're going to use our square root symbol a lot, and we're going to use the idea of our rational exponents to solve, okay? So if you see something like, let's go to number 2 first. Okay, number 2. If you see something like number 2, it has a rational exponent, right? That's rational exponent. It's a rational number. First thing you want to do is get the group that's being raised to that exponent by itself. So we're going to add the 25 over. Okay, first thing we're going to do. So then we have x minus 1 being raised to the 2/3. 25 is on the right side. So now what we can do is we are going to raise both sides instead of like squaring both sides like you do sometimes with radicals. Because we have a rational exponent, we're going to take the reciprocal of that exponent and raise both sides by it. So then when you multiply in, these cancel because it's 2/3 times 3/2, which gives you 1. So now you're left with x minus 1. And now you have 25 being cubed and square root. So really what you have right now is the square root of 25 cubed. If you do that in your calculator, you should get 125. Add your 1 over. So x here is going to equal 126. You should check for extraneous solutions. We will do that later this year. I just want to know that you can do the process. That's all I care about. So for number 1, we're going to go back here. Okay, same idea. Now we have a radical. We don't have a rational exponent. Same idea. We need to get this top by itself. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract 1. Okay, so now we have negative x plus 4 over 4 is equal to negative 4. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get rid of the denominator and the negative because this top still needs to be by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 4 because that gets rid of the denominator and gets rid of the negative. So now I just have the square root of x plus 4 equals a positive 16, which is great. Makes it much easier to deal with. So just like the problem next to it, is if you remember, square root really means you have something being raised to the 1/2. So we're going to take both sides and we're going to raise it to the square. We're going to raise it to a power of 2 because that will cancel the radical and the exponent. So now we just have x plus 4 and then 16 squared. I didn't do it right in my answer key. So then we have 16 squared. All right, so we have 256, that's 16 squared, and then you're going to subtract your 4, so now you have 252. Okay, so that's the process. So I want to jump down to a problem like number 3, where we have a radical on both sides. When you have a radical on both sides and it's all by itself, so the left side is alone like we have here, and the right side is alone like you have here, what you can do, because they both have, my eraser's not right, there we go. They both have one radical, there's nothing else with it, and it's the same kind of radical. You can square both sides and then just solve for x. So now I have x over 5, and then you can just solve. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5 to get rid of the fraction. Okay, get rid of that fraction, distribute that in. So 72 times 5 is 360. Minus 5x equals x. Add your 5x over. So then you can divide by your x as well. So you should get x equal to 60. Okay. So with that being said, we just did number 3. Make sure you have everything. I want you to go ahead and do number 4 on your own. So I'm going to put number 3 back in here. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so I got k equals -14, and these are the steps that I took to get that. So again, you should be taking all of these numbers and checking them in the equation to see if they work. We will do that later this year. They're called extraneous solutions. We're not going to do that right now. All I care about is that can you do the process so when we get there later in the year, this process is a lot easier for you. So this is how I did it, squared both sides, move my terms over, and then solve for k. If you have questions, please ask. So I want to jump over to number 5. Okay, I want to take a look at this one. So this group right here is being raised to the power of 3/4. So the first thing we need to do is get it by itself. We're going to add 1 over. So we have 27x to the 3/4 equals 27. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take both sides and raise it to the reciprocal. So 4/3, 4/3 is our exponent now in the pink, so that it will cancel the 3/4. So then on the left side, you're left with 27x. And then when you do the cube root of 27 to the 4th, or you just plug it in your calculator like it is right here, you should get 81. Hopefully you get 81. And then when you divide by 27, x should equal 3. Okay, so when you have rational exponents, you are going to raise both sides by your reciprocal, okay, your reciprocal fraction. All right, so I want to jump down to number 7. And I want you to try to do this one on your own. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so this is what I got for 7. So I subtracted my 10 over, and then I have this little negative out front right here. So the group is not completely by itself because we do have a -1. There's a invisible 1 right there. So I went ahead and I multiplied both sides by -1 to get rid of it. So when I do that, I get a positive 64, and now this group is completely by itself. So I raised both sides to the 2/3. I got 16 equals m minus 10, so m is going to equal 26. Okay, so that's doing rational exponents. So why don't we just finish up? We do one more, and then we'll be done. So actually, we're going to do 2. You're going to finish up, you're going to do 8 and 10 on your own, and that's the last thing we're going to do. So 8 and 10. So go ahead and do those now. All right, so I got 8 for the answer for 8x equals 21. You needed to add your 6 over, and you were going to divide by -5. And then when you do that, everything is by itself in the group, so you can raise both sides to the 3/5. And then you can just solve for x, so you get 21. Again, we would go back and check to make sure this doesn't give us an undefined answer, but we're not going to do that right now. So then number 10, I showed you 2 different ways you can do this because I want you to see how they relate. So now that you have the process down, you can see how they're equal. Subtract the 9 over, divide by 5. So at this point, you have the cube root of 2m equals 4. You could change that so that 2m, the whole thing, was being raised to the 1/3. Either way, you're going to raise both sides to the 3rd power. And when you do that, you get 2m equals 64, which m would then equal 32. So it doesn't matter if you do a rational exponent or a radical. Either way, you can get the same thing as long as your math is right. So if you have any questions, please ask, please reach out. Other than that, have a great day.